I'm going to share the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, and it's very much from a book called Complex PTSD by Pete Walker. And in this book, when people have been through complex PTSD through their lives, we get to react or play out different types of behavior when we go into flashback. And this can be very debilitating for people, and also not understanding what's going on or why, or understanding that we're having a flashback keeps us in very unhappy circumstances in life because we don't know what's going on. So the first thing is to heal from complex PTSD, we do need basic education and understanding. And if we look at normal PTSD, what we have is a situation where you have a one-off event that you then go back to, and you might wake up with terror dreams or, you know, flashbacks to that one moment. But with complex PTSD, there are so many moments that you may have been traumatized as a child that you don't know which one you're going back to. But we've also got something which is the limbic system in our bodies that helps us to sort of protect ourselves. And it's a very automatic system. So for instance, we know that if we go something near a hot stove, we'll pull our hand away automatically. And that is because we know that if we touch it, we're going to get burnt, and it's an automatic response. So what happens with complex PTSD, sometimes it becomes an automatic response to the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, becomes an automatic response to circumstances in life. Not every single circumstance, but there will be triggers, and the response is so quick that we have no seemingly control over it. So the more education we have, the easier it is to identify what's going on and then talk ourselves down or out of the panic attack or the situation, and we can begin to see that we are safe and there's nothing to fear or be angry about in that moment, that we're basically having a flashback. But I think it's helpful to understand what the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response is, so that we can begin to go a bit deeper. So I'm going to share this document, and it's on the fight type, okay? So the fight type and the narcissistic defense. So basically, if somebody goes into fight, then it's a defense against, you know, an outside threat, so to speak. So fight types are unconsciously driven to the belief that power and control can create safety. And that can happen in many different ways, like how we want to control a situation, or, you know, we may do things that are seem really odd to other people. But I'll read what he says, and then you can make up your own minds. So fight types are unconsciously driven by the belief that power and control can create safety, assuage abandonment, and secure love. Children who are spoiled are given insufficient limits, a uniquely painful type of abandonment. And children who are allowed to imitate the bullying of a narcissistic parent may develop a fixated fight response to being triggered. These types learn to respond to their feelings of abandonment with anger, and subsequently use contempt, a toxic amalgam of narcissistic rage and disgust, to intimidate and shame others into mirroring them and to interacting as extensions of themselves. The entitled fight-flight commonly uses others as an audience for his incessant monologuing, and may treat a captured freeze or fawn type as a slave or prisoner in a dominant submission relationship. Especially devolved fight types may become sociopathic, ranging from a continuum that stretches between corrupt politician and vicious criminal. So then it says how it's treatable, but I'm going to go on now to the flight, what flight means. The flight type and obsessive-compulsive defense. Flight types appear as if their starter button is stuck on the on position. They are obsessively and compulsively driven by the unconscious belief that perfectionism will make them safe and lovable. As children, the flight types respond to their family trauma somewhere along a hyperactive continuum that stretches between the extremes of a driven A student and an ADHD dropout running amok. They relentlessly flee their inner pain of their abandonment and lack of attachment with the symbolic flight of constant busyness. When the obsessive-compulsive flight type is not doing, she is worrying and planning about doing. Flight types are prone to becoming addicted to their own adrenalization, and many recklessly and regularly pursue risky and dangerous activities to keep their adrenaline high going. These types are also as susceptible to stimulating substance addictions as they are to the favorite process addictions, workaholism and busyholism. Severely traumatized flight types may devolve into severe anxiety and panic disorders. So if you have panic attacks and anxiety, it's likely that you are a flight type. And there is a way to bring ourselves out of anxiety and panic attacks, which I'll tell you what that is at the end. Now, the freeze type and the dissociative defense. Many freeze types unconsciously believe that people and danger are synonymous, and that safety lies in solitude. Outside of a fantasy, many give up entirely on the possibility of love. The freeze response, also known as the camouflage response, often triggers the individual into hiding, isolating, and eschewing human contact as much as possible. This type can be so frozen in retreat mode that it seems as if the starter button is stuck in the off position. It is usually the most profoundly abandoned child, the lost child, who is forced to choose and habitate to the freeze response, the most primitive of the 4 Fs. Unable to successfully employ fight, flight, or fawn responses, the freeze type's defenses develop around classical dissociation, which allows him to disconnect from experiencing his abandonment pain and protects him from risky social interactions, any of which might trigger feelings of being re-abandoned. Freeze types often present as ADD. They seek refuge and comfort in prolonged bouts of sleep, daydreaming, wishing, and right brain dominant activities like TV, computer, and video games. They master the art of changing the internal channel whenever inner experience becomes uncomfortable. When they are especially traumatized or triggered, they may exhibit a schizoid-like detachment from ordinary reality. So then we've got the last one, which is Fawn, which not a lot of people have heard of, but it's addressed in Pete Walker's book. I'll put the link below this video. So the Fawn type and codependent defense. Fawn type seeks safety by merging with the wishes. That went back there. We lost that for a minute. Let's go back. Many freeze types, freeze Fawn. Sorry about that. The screen jumped. So what do we do? Right. So Fawn type seeks safety by merging with the wishes, needs, and demands of others. They act as if they unconsciously believe that the price of admission to any relationship is the forfeiture of their needs, rights, preferences, boundaries, and they often begin life like the precocious child described in Alice Miller's The Drama of the Gifted Child, who learn that a modicum of safety and attachment can be gained by becoming the helpful and compliant servant to their parents. They are usually the children of at least one narcissistic parent who uses contempt to press them into service, scaring and shaming them out of developing a healthy sense of self and an egoic locus of self-protection, self-care, and self-compassion. This dynamic is explored at length in he's saying an East Bay Therapist article, so it's on his webpage, which I'll put the link below here too. And it says codependency, trauma, and the Fawn response. Actually, you can see it there. It's www.petewalker.com. And then, the deeper we dig on this stuff and get it, we begin to heal. And this is what I'm finding incredible. I'm going to stop sharing. So what's incredible to me, that for years I've gone around like suffering, and the more I've understood what is actually going on, the easier life has got for me. And I think that this education needs to be out there, and that we need to explore, if we're getting angry and if we're sort of like, getting so busy and disassociating, and where all of these emotions going on that are not balanced in us, then it's generally because something's happened to us, and the only way we know how to respond is the way we respond, because we were taught it as children. So there is hope through educating ourselves on this. I hope it makes sense. It's a bit of a, funny video that I'm not going on about the whole thing, but it's just information, and information changes people's lives. If you want to book a session with me to discuss this, or to do the tapping, which gets rid of, it does eventually work on anxiety. If you're doing things like thinking you're going to die, or you're calling ambulances out, or you're panicking generally about something bad happening to you, when we tap, we bring ourselves out of fight and flight, freeze, and we bring ourselves into the now. So I know that my own study and becoming qualified and certified in fast EFT has helped me with my own anxiety, and it also does help other people in an amazing way. So you can book below, my booking page is below, and if you've got any questions about this video or any thoughts, then leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Thank you.